Hi everybody, it's me Gabriel. It's 5 o'clock right now. The temperature inside the house is about 66 degrees and I should have started this loaf an hour ago at least, but life happens, so here we go. I'm going to do this real quick, down and dirty. I'm going to show you how I make my loaves. So I got my bowl, I got my scale. First thing I'm going to do is I turn on my scale. Because my bowl's already on my scale, it's going to automatically go to 0. And I set my scale to be in kilograms versus pounds so that everything is in grams, because I like it that way. I have my bread drawer right here. I have my King Arthur. So first thing I'm going to do is I put 200 grams or so in here of the bread flour. So this is going to make my bread strong. It's going to give strength to it. Next I have my King Arthur Organic Whole Wheat. This has 13% protein, so it's kind of like another bread flour. This is also going to make my bread strong. I put 100 grams of the whole wheat bread flour in. Yeah, we're almost there. Next I have my whole wheat and my rye, which I'm a little low on. I do my rye first and then my whole wheat, and I'll tell you why in a second. So I do 100 grams of rye. And now I have 100 grams of whole wheat. And the reason that I do the whole wheat last is because 100 grams of whole wheat. All right, so now I have about 500 grams of all of my flours. And then I'm gonna take my salt. I'm gonna zero out my scale out, and now I'm gonna put 11 grams of salt in. 11 grams of salt. And if it's 12 grams, that's fine too. There you go, 11 grams. So now I take my 2 fingers, I stir it all around. It's just flour and salt in here. My cameraman is Mr. Ellis Harbor. All right. Next thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my old starter that's been sitting in the fridge for 3-4 days. I'm gonna take my water. I'm gonna wet my spoon because the starter slides off it easier that way. And I'm gonna kind of scrape the funk that's on top. I'm gonna scrape that off. So I'm gonna take a little bit of this, which is the starter that's been living in the fridge. And I'm gonna stick it into my clean jar. That's just a little bit, check this out. Look how small that is, look at that, just a tiny little bit. Hardly any at all. And then the rest, which is about that much, stays in here. So my clean jar is going to go back in the fridge. It's going to go on my scale. I'm going to zero it out. I put 30 grams of water in here. 26, 27, that's fine. I'm going to take my 1/4 cup measuring cup and zero out my scale again. And then 30 grams of flour is going to go on top here. 26, there we go, about 30. Next, I'm going to put my other jar, I'm going to zero it out, and put 50 grams of water. This is going to rise my loaf. 42, 48, that's good enough. I'm going to zero it out, and 50 grams of flour is going to go in here. So I'm just going to stir these up. So this is the jar that was in the fridge. The reason I like to swap the jars is so the jar that goes back in the fridge is clean. Because if you just use the same jar over and over again, then you end up getting dried funk on the side. So this is the jar. This is my starter that's going to go back in the fridge in the clean jar. Stir it up real good. Wipe it off with my finger. And I kind of tap it down. and then check it out. You can see the consistency of it right now. Here's the side. And then the other one's pretty much the same. It's 100% hydration, equal parts water and flour. My lid's on. This guy's gonna go in the fridge. I put my main pot back on, or my main bowl back on. I zero it out. And I put about 400 grams of water in. 397, that's fine. Move it out of the way. And then we're gonna stir this up. So I have my salt, and my flours, and my water in here. I just want to get it uniform. It's going to be all kind of clumpy. That's fine. Alright, so there it is. This is my trusty bag that I've been using for at least 1.5 years. I don't know how long. See, it says reuse. And I can read, so I reused it a lot. So this, put over my bread like this, tuck it under. This I just let sit here right next to it. And then over the next little bit, I'm gonna kind of knead this bread just a little bit. Not really knead it, but just kind of fold it to make it uniform. And then while this rises, and then once this is big and fluffy in maybe 3 hours, depending on when I want to go to bed, then I'm gonna incorporate that into here. That's it for now.